There is a moment, subtle, almost invisible, when a woman stops trying to impress you. And if you don't understand what that means, you will completely misread it. In the beginning, attraction often looks polished. She chooses her words carefully. She adjusts her posture. She laughs a little brighter than usual. This is natural. We all present our best surface at first. But when a woman begins to consider giving herself to you emotionally, something changes. She lets you see her unfiltered reactions. Maybe she disagrees with you without softening it too much. Maybe she admits she had a rough day instead of pretending everything is fine. Maybe she shows you her flaws in small, unguarded ways, a moment of insecurity, a quiet frustration, an opinion that might not be universally liked. That shift is powerful because performance is about attraction. Authenticity is about trust. When she stops curating every detail of how she appears to you, it means she's testing something deeper. Will he still accept me if I'm not polished? This is one of the hidden signs most men overlook. They think her teasing honesty or emotional openness means comfort, but comfort is the doorway to intimacy. A woman does not expose her imperfect edges to a man she sees as temporary. She does it when she's evaluating long-term emotional safety. Now, here's where it becomes even more important. If she playfully challenges you, not in a combative way, but in a curious way, that's another sign. She may question your opinions. She may lightly tease your habits. She may ask thoughtful, probing questions about your goals, your past, your mindset. This isn't interrogation, it's investment. Women invest energy where they feel potential. When she asks deeper questions, she's not just making conversation, she's mapping your emotional landscape. She wants to know if your values align, if your stability is real, if your confidence is grounded or fragile, and how you respond matters more than the answer itself. If you become defensive, dismissive, or overly dominant, her system registers unpredictability. But if you stay calm, if you answer honestly without over-explaining, if you smile and hold your ground without aggression, she feels something rare: security. And security is incredibly attractive to a woman considering emotional surrender. There's another subtle behavior. She begins to mirror you, not consciously. Her tone may match yours. Her pace of speaking might slow if yours is slow. If you lean back comfortably, she might follow. This is a biological sign of alignment. Our nervous systems mirror people we feel connected to. But here's the key. It's not exaggerated. It's gentle. It feels natural. When this mirroring happens consistently, especially in quiet moments, it suggests her body and mind are syncing with yours. And that only happens when trust is forming beneath the surface. Many men assume attraction is loud. It's not. The deepest attraction is quiet, steady, and deliberate. And when a woman starts allowing silence between you without rushing to fill it, that's another powerful signal. Silence is vulnerability. If she can sit in silence with you and not feel anxious and not feel the need to perform, that means your presence feels safe. And safety is the foundation upon which she decides whether to open herself further. Understand this clearly. A woman does not emotionally give herself to charisma alone. She gives herself to consistency. She watches how you handle small tensions, small disagreements, small pauses, because if you can hold those moments without cracking, she begins to imagine what it would feel like to lean in fully. And there is one sign, subtle but unmistakable, that reveals when she has emotionally stepped past the point of casual interest. We'll explore that next. If you've ever walked away from a conversation with a woman and felt a quiet shift in the air, something unspoken, something deeper than flirting, you weren't imagining it. There are moments when a woman is not just enjoying your company, she is emotionally opening herself to you. And most men miss it, not because they're incapable, but because no one ever taught them what to look for. Before we go deeper, take a second to like the video and subscribe. Not for me, but because the kind of awareness we're about to explore can change the way you see every interaction from this point forward. Let's begin with something most men misunderstand. When I say a woman wants to give herself to you, I'm not talking about physical intimacy. I'm talking about emotional access, vulnerability, trust, the quiet decision in her mind that says, I feel safe enough to let this man see me. For a woman, that is never casual. One of the first hidden signs is this: her energy softens around you. Pay attention to the difference between how she is with others and how she is with you. Around most people, she may be guarded, witty, composed. But with you, her voice lowers slightly. Her movements slow down. She stops performing. The sharp edges dissolve. That softening is not weakness. It is permission. Women are constantly evaluating emotional safety. When she senses steadiness in you, not dominance, not flashiness, not performance, but grounded calm, her nervous system relaxes. And when a woman relaxes around you, she is testing whether she can lean in further. Another early sign is sustained eye contact that lingers just a moment longer than necessary. Not dramatic, not seductive in an obvious way, but searching. She's not just looking at your face, she's studying your reactions, your restraint, your emotional temperature. She wants to see whether you hold her gaze with presence or whether you become uncomfortable, arrogant, or overly eager. A mature woman doesn't give herself to potential chaos. She gives herself to emotional stability. And here's what many men don't realize. When she begins sharing small personal details, not trauma, not deep secrets yet, but small pieces of her internal world, that's not random conversation. It might be something simple, a childhood memory, a fear about the future, an insecurity she laughs off lightly. If she's offering those pieces, she is placing fragments of trust in your hands. What you do next matters more than you think. If you interrupt, joke too quickly, try to impress, or redirect the spotlight back to yourself, she retracts. But if you hold space, if you listen without trying to fix, if your body language says you're safe here, she inches closer emotionally. And this is where most men either rise or disqualify themselves, because the deepest attraction for a woman is not triggered by pressure. It's triggered by emotional containment. She is asking herself quietly, can this man handle my depth without being overwhelmed? Can he stay steady if I lean in? When the answer begins to feel like yes, she doesn't announce it. She reveals it in subtle shifts. And by the end of this conversation, you'll understand one sign in particular that almost no one talks about. But once you see it, you'll never unsee it again. There is a shift that happens when a woman stops evaluating you and starts including you. It's subtle, almost invisible if you're not paying attention. In the early stages, she observes, she listens, she gathers data, she measures your emotional steadiness without you realizing it. But when she begins to imagine you as part of her inner world, her language changes. She starts using we in small casual ways, not about the future in a dramatic sense, not about commitment, but in everyday conversation. We should try that place sometime. That would be fun for us. You'd like my friend. You two would get along. These statements may seem light, harmless, but psychologically they signal inclusion. She is placing you inside her mental map of experiences. A woman does not do that with a man she sees as temporary entertainment. Another powerful sign is when she begins sharing stories that reveal her emotional patterns, especially the ones she doesn't fully understand about herself. She might say, I don't know why I shut down sometimes, or I tend to pull away when I start liking someone. Pay close attention to that. When a woman exposes her vulnerabilities around attachment, fear, or past disappointments, she is not just talking. She is offering you a glimpse into her unguarded interior. That is sacred territory. And here is where many men make a critical mistake. They try to fix her. They offer solutions, advice, logical corrections. But what she is truly watching for is this: can you hold her emotional complexity without trying to control it? If you respond with calm understanding instead of urgency, if you say something grounded like, that makes sense. Everyone protects themselves in different ways. You communicate emotional maturity. And emotional maturity makes a woman feel safe enough to soften further. There's another sign most men misinterpret. She starts caring about your well-being in small but consistent ways. Not in a motherly sense, not in a dramatic, overbearing way, but she checks in. Did you get home okay? Have you eaten? You seemed tired earlier. When a woman invests emotional attention into your state, It means you matter beyond surface attraction. She is subconsciously practicing what it feels like to care for you. And care is the bridge to emotional surrender. Now, here's something even deeper. If she remembers details about you, small ones you barely recall mentioning, that's not accidental. The project you're working on, the name of your childhood pet, the story about your older brother, the stress you felt about an upcoming meeting. Women remember what they emotionally value. When she brings up those details later, she is signaling that you occupy mental space. And the most revealing sign in this phase, she becomes slightly protective of the connection. If another woman's name comes up casually, watch her micro-expression, not jealousy in a dramatic sense, but a subtle tightening, a curious question, a quiet shift in tone. It's not insecurity, it's emotional investment. She is beginning to see the bond as meaningful. And here's the truth. Most men are never taught. When a woman starts envisioning you in her emotional future, even lightly, she is no longer just attracted, she is considering trust. But there is one moment, one very specific behavioral shift that quietly confirms she has moved from curiosity into something much deeper. And it doesn't look like what most men expect. There is a moment when a woman stops guarding her pride with you. And if you miss this sign, you may never realize how deeply she has already stepped toward you. Most women are emotionally intelligent. They know how to maintain composure. They know how to protect their dignity, especially in the early stages of attraction. But when she begins to give herself to you emotionally, something remarkable happens. She allows you to see her when she is not at her strongest. Maybe she admits she felt hurt by something small. Maybe she tells you she overthought a message you sent. Maybe she confesses that she was nervous before seeing you. Understand how significant this is. Vulnerability for a woman is not casual. It carries risk. It means she is trusting that you won't weaponize her openness or see her as weak. When she reveals that she cares enough to be affected, she is no longer protecting her ego. She is prioritizing connection. And this is where your emotional leadership matters most. If you tease her for being too sensitive, she will close. If you minimize her feelings, she will retreat. If you act superior because she admitted interest, she will quietly rebuild her walls. But if you respond with grounded warmth, not overwhelming reassurance, not dramatic declarations, just steady understanding, she feels something powerful, relief. Relief that she doesn't have to stay guarded. Another hidden sign appears in how she handles conflict or misunderstanding with you. When a woman doesn't care deeply, she disengages easily. She shrugs, she distances, she lets things fade. But when she wants to give herself to you, she leans toward resolution. She will clarify instead of disappear. She will explain instead of assume. She will attempt to understand instead of withdrawing immediately. That effort is emotional investment. It means the connection matters enough for her to protect it. And here is something subtle but profound. Her laughter changes. In the beginning, laughter can be social, polite, bright. But when she feels emotionally safe and attached, her laughter becomes fuller, less controlled, sometimes softer, sometimes louder. It's not about impressing you anymore. It's about enjoying being with you. That shift signals comfort at a deep level. Now let's talk about physical proximity, not in an inappropriate way, but in an energetic one. When a woman wants to emotionally open herself, she reduces distance. She may sit slightly closer. She may find small reasons to maintain presence, lingering after conversations, extending moments, not rushing to leave. It's not aggressive. It's subtle gravity. Her body language communicates, "I feel good here." And here is perhaps the most overlooked sign in this entire conversation. She begins to reveal her dreams, not surface goals, not casual ambitions, but the kind of visions she doesn't share with everyone, the life she imagines, the impact she wants to make, the fears about whether she'll achieve it. When a woman shares her dreams, she is exposing her heart's blueprint. That is not something she hands to someone she sees as temporary. It means she is evaluating whether you could exist in that future. At this point, her attraction is no longer curiosity. It is emotional positioning. But there is one final sign, quiet, powerful, and undeniable, that confirms She has already crossed the internal line from interest to emotional surrender, and it's something most men mistake for something much smaller. The final sign is the one almost no one talks about, and yet it reveals everything. It's in the way she allows you to influence her mood without feeling threatened, not by changing her opinions or bending to your will, not by acting submissive or performing, but in subtle shifts. When she smiles more because of something you said, when she seeks your presence in moments she could easily be alone, when her energy lifts in your company without her forcing it. This is emotional resonance. When a woman begins to resonate with you, it's a sign she is letting herself feel fully, not cautiously, not guardedly, but expansively. She is testing the trust between you and herself, and trust is the very foundation of giving herself in the deepest sense to someone. Another unmistakable marker is the way she shares her inner world without expecting anything in return. She tells you about her fears, her frustrations, the small failures she would normally hide. She laughs at her own mistakes around you. She shows you the parts she protects from the world, not to manipulate or test, but because she believes you can hold them safely. And if you respond with grounded presence, calm attention, gentle curiosity, and steady understanding, you create a rare form of intimacy, one where she no longer has to perform, no longer has to filter, no longer has to evaluate every interaction for risk. At this point, attraction has become something deeper than chemistry. It has become connection, trust, and the quiet willingness to let someone into the inner world she rarely shares. The last subtle clue is how she makes you a part of her daily thoughts. She may text you lightly, send a memory your way, or share something she saw that reminded her of a conversation you had. It's not clingy or dramatic. It's thoughtful. She's beginning to integrate you into her life before it's even explicit. And here's the thing most men never notice. It isn't about control, dominance, or charm. It's about emotional safety, consistency, and the quiet power of being present. She has decided in a very deliberate subconscious way that your presence is worth exposing herself to. If you can recognize these signs, hold space without pressure, and maintain calm, steadiness, you're offering something rare in her world, the ability to surrender without fear. That's what giving herself truly means. Not urgency, not obligation, not expectation, but trust, emotional availability, safety, and the unspoken permission to be fully herself with you. These hidden cues are subtle, but once you learn to see them, they change everything. You begin to understand the language of emotional openness, the quiet signals women give when they're ready, and the power you hold, not through force or charm, but through presence, patience, and understanding. Pay attention to these signs, respect them, respond with steady emotional intelligence, and you'll realize that the most profound form of attraction is the one built on trust, connection, and emotional surrender. Long before any words are spoken, this is where real intimacy begins.